Well, here we are again. That's right, Mii merchandise, part 2. Right after I uploaded my first Mii merchandise video, I began to realize how incredibly naive I was for even considering the idea that that was all the Mii merchandise there was. In this video, I'll go over everything that I found since my initial video, but again, this is likely not everything. During the process of making these two videos, I've come to realize how unsustainable it actually is to try to comprehensively document something like this in a video format, because once you publish the video, that's it. You can't update it or add any more. And with a subject like this, there's always going to be more information coming out. So I made a Google document, which I will link in the description, with a full list of all Mii merchandise that I'm aware of. Everything from this video, the video before, and anything I find afterwards. I added a little indicator at the top of the list, noting when it was last updated. So if you look at the list and it says it's updated after the upload date of this video, you'll know there's new stuff. Another mistake I made in my original video was never really providing a proper definition of what I considered to be Mii merchandise. But better late than never, so here is my official definition. I consider any item sold or given out as a reward to consumers by Nintendo, other than the actual games themselves, with a Mii on it or the Mii logo on it to be Mii merchandise. I also consider items that don't technically have Miis on them but are from Mii-centric games to be Mii merchandise as well, although I really only consider Miitopia, Tomodachi Life, and Tomodachi Collection to be true Mii-centric games. Some would say other games like the Wii series, for example, are Mii-centric, and while I certainly agree that those are definitely Mii games, I would argue they more focus on what your Miis are doing rather than the Miis themselves. So for the purposes of this list, they do not count. Plus, the Wii series has a ton of merchandise, which would have to be its own entirely separate video. However, there are a select few pieces of Wii series merchandise which I would also consider to be Mii merchandise as well. So let's start off there. First off, there is this calendar from Club Nintendo, featuring art and renders from several Wii series games, and of course, some of these renders include Miis. Now there is an unfathomable amount of Wii Fit merchandise, and while most of it just has the Wii Fit logo or something along those lines, this Wii Fit bag from Club Nintendo features 5 Miis on the front. And actually, since we're on the topic of Wii Fit, let's talk about the Wii Fit U meters. These unique items were accessories for the generally unsuccessful Wii Fit sequel, Wii Fit U. Of course, this game wasn't a failure because it was bad per se, it just, came out on the Wii U. Essentially, this accessory was a glorified pedometer, but glorified with Miis. That's right, this device had a small screen which would display your Mii on it, as well as a step counter, a clock, a thermometer, and lots of other little graphs which I cannot be bothered to comprehend. I mean, let's be real, I only care about the Miis. There were 3 versions, white and green, black and gray, and white and red. Since we're talking about electronics, I would also like to bring up that there were several Tomodachi Life themed 3DSs, or more like one Tomodachi Life themed 3DS and a bunch of other 3DSs that came with Tomodachi Life pre-installed on them, although they did have cool packaging. However, that one truly Tomodachi Life themed 3DS is just absolutely stunning. A 3DS XL, or 3DS LL as they're called in Japan, the whole console is covered in these little Tomodachi Life quote bubbles, as well as a small yellow bubble in the corner referencing the Tomodachi Life logo. Really, my only critique would be that from afar, the design kind of looks like a Yoshi egg pattern, and very easily could be mistaken as such, but really that's just a nitpick. Unfortunately, this console was only released in Japan, but man, I wish we could have gotten it in the West. I mean, it's so cool. As for the others, to my knowledge, they were all just normal 3DS and 2DS consoles, sold in a Tomodachi Life themed box with the game pre-installed on the console. In my last video, I somehow managed to miss out an entire category of merchandise, that being Miitopia merchandise. There were Miitopia stickers, sticky notes, temporary tattoos, lanyards, bags, and even this awesome lunchbox. I mean, imagine showing up to school with a freaking Miitopia lunchbox. You'd probably get bullied, actually, but at least you'd look really sick while getting beat up or something. Most of these items were like little extras for pre-ordering the game or something like that. However, there were a couple Miitopia items that were exclusive to the NSEW store in Hong Kong. There was this cool little Miitopia magnet, as well as this washi tape, or this washi tape? Yeah, so this is kind of an interesting one. So this article talking about the Miitopia merchandise sold at the NSEW store hosts an image of this Miitopia washi tape. The NSEW Instagram also has a post showing a similar Miitopia washi tape. However, what's strange is that if you go to NSEW's listing for Miitopia, or this other slightly newer Instagram post, this is what they show. A slightly different version of the same washi tape. Also, if we go back to the first design for this tape and look at the corner in this image, you can see that they actually made a typo in the word Nintendo, adding an A before the letter E, which of course is not supposed to be there as far as I'm concerned. I think it's also notable that the only images we have of this version of the tape are obviously not pictures of a real roll of tape, but rather digital renditions of what it would look like, while we do have real pictures of the second rendition. This makes me believe that this design was likely never actually printed, but was just an idea. My guess is that this was the original design for the tape, but they decided to change it. Probably to make it cheaper to print, since I imagine it's far easier to cut this straight line than the more complex edge on the original design. I think it's pretty fascinating, actually. I imagine design changes like this happen all the time, but it's usually far before the public ever gets to see it, so it's always interesting when we get these small glimpses into the merchandise designing process. The last Miitopia item I know of is this King and Prince zip-up pouch. King and Prince being a Japanese idol group. And speaking of idol groups, let's talk about AKB48 plus Mii, a tie-in Mii game for the idol group AKB48. There are a few pieces of merchandise relating to this game. First off, there's this file folder. Really starting to see a pattern here, huh? As well as this nail file and some AR cards. There's also an official guidebook, because apparently every single Mii game needs a guidebook. I mean, not that I'm complaining, the more Mii stuff the better. And since we're on the subject of books, I've honestly come to believe that it was a mistake to include them in this list in the first place. I thought I could get away with mashing everything together because of the very false assumption I had that there would barely be enough items for a video in the first place. Honestly, when I first started making this list, I thought I would be struggling to pad it out enough to make a single video, but I was so wrong. Honestly, there are so many more Mii guidebooks, magazines, and pamphlets. I seriously believe that I would not be able to do them justice, just naming them off in this video. The issue with books is that each one is full of content that I could talk about at length. That is, if I have access to said books. And I feel it wouldn't do them justice to just name them all off in a video. So while I do plan on talking about Mii books in more depth, I will not be doing it in this video. However, there is one book I will talk about in this video because of one very unique thing that it contains. This is the You and We Everything You Need to Know guidebook. What makes this book unique is that, as you can see advertised on the cover, it contains stickers to make your very own Mii inside the book itself. Now, I couldn't really find any pictures of the Mii stickers themselves, so of course I just went ahead and bought the book. And side note, this book is really cheap and easy to find, so if you're looking to start your very own Mii merchandise collection, this book is a great starting point. But anyways, here are the Mii stickers. And I don't know if my expectations were too high or something. I mean, during the week or so I waited for this book to ship, I was pretty much just sitting there, imagining what these epic Mii stickers could look like, but I feel like they're just kinda nah. I mean, don't get me wrong, the fact that these exist in the first place is amazing, and it's a great concept, but I just feel like there could have been a bit more. I mean, the options here are pretty limited, but I do have a hunch that my expectations were just too high. For what it is, these stickers are very, very cool. And as for the book itself, it's exactly what it says on the cover. A general guidebook for the Wii, as well as Wii Sports. Now, I'm not exactly the most difficult person to amuse, but I will say, this book made me chuckle at least a couple times. I mean, it's kind of goofy, almost boomer humor. I chose this mouth shape because I rarely give a big toothy grin in photos. I'm something of a smart aleck, as my wife will confirm. And I feel like this mouth enhances the smarmy quality I wanted to capture with my Mii. But I do think it's still funny in a roundabout way. The next item I'd like to talk about is also Wii Sports related, being this Wii Sports baseball toy from Wendy's released in 2006. Of course, corresponding with the release of the Wii. The premise of this toy was that you would press this red button on the side to swing the Wiimote like a baseball bat, and hit these tiny plastic baseballs, almost like pinball. At the back of the field, there were indents that your balls could fall into. There were also these 3 small indents in the field that the balls were supposed to be able to land in, but like, they're so shallow and the balls launch so fast, I feel like it might not even be possible to get them in there. Unless you count like manually rolling them in by tilting the entire baseball field around. For a limited time in 2006, Japanese Platinum Club Nintendo members were able to send their Miis from their Wiis to Nintendo and receive a custom Wiimote battery cover with their very own Mii printed on it. Now, we have all of the basic facts about this item. However, pretty much every article about it has this same pretty low quality picture. That is, except this blog post that my friend Cozmiz found. In it, we can get a better look at the Wiimote, and this cool box it came in. In that first example image most people were using, they used these two Miis, which appear to be pretty much the default boy and girl Miis, except with slightly different mouths. Which I find kind of funny because the mouth they used for the default Mii boy just makes him look like the smuggest little shit ever for absolutely no reason. And by the way, this entry would not have been possible without the Internet Archive, specifically the Wayback Machine. Nearly all of the websites and blog posts talking about this item no longer exist, and the only way I was able to find them was through the Wayback Machine. I mean, it's not like they needed a shout out from me, but, you know, I do appreciate them. Okay, now I sort of knew about these Mii Business Cards when I made my first video. However, I got a bit confused because I couldn't find them on the WeLink Digicam Prints channel. So I thought they must have just been like advertising the normal business cards using Miis as examples, but that is not the case. Here's a quote from this 2008 article on the topic, saying, quote, "The latest addition to the Japanese Club Nintendo are these Mii Business Cards. Users can trade in 150 coins for a set of 30, which include your name, contact information, and of course, your friend code. Likely the entire point of these business cards is to make it easier for one to connect with their friends, since rarely does a person have their 96-digit friend code available. I don't suspect we'll actually see any of these cards at all, since they're redeemed through the Digicam Print channel, which is also a Japanese exclusive." And of course, this article was correct. We never did see those Mii Business Cards in the West. Although it's never too late, Nintendo. And that is all the Mii merchandise I have for you today. Now, of course, I'm sure I missed plenty more items, but at this point, I've just come to accept that my list will never be truly complete. And of course, there is also the entire other beast that is Mii books. But I think it would be more appropriate for me to make an entirely separate series going into more detail about each of them, as books, by nature, just have more content to go over, and I feel I couldn't do them all justice in a series like this. However, my Google document, which I highly recommend you check out by the way, as to continue being as comprehensive as possible, will still include the list of books alongside everything else. I had a lot of help on this video, so I will be linking all the social medias and stuff of the people who helped me. And again, check out the Google Doc if you want a full comprehensive list of all of the Mii books and merchandise that I'm currently aware of. Anyways, have a nice rest of your day, and I will see you in the next, inevitably Mii-related video.